picture still hangs in the 8 Ball corridor to this day. So I feel like if they really hated us, they wouldn't have done that. You know?
Yeah. Well, back 40, we played there, a handful of times, of course, but we could bring a crowd if we did a extras like our finale show. It's a finale show, so you're going to bring a crowd.
Right.
And but we couldn't do it like you guys did, just constantly, just bringing it.
We did I think 2 years there. We did every 40 days. Like if it wasn't once a month, it was once every like roughly 40. Once every 5 or 6 weeks. Yep. We did a show there, and I think we sold them out for a good solid 6 or 7 months. Where it was it's just a riot.
Yeah. Well, you guys headlined in town a lot during all the hash bashes, right? I mean, I always
we still
had,
up until, no offense to Lath, my good friend, but up until last year, we played Hash Bash every year for, I think I've been doing the gig personally with Smokestack and everyone 13 years in a row or 14 years in a row. And not last year, I guess 2 years ago, we're still in 2019. So 2019, obviously we know was canceled.
Right.
You know what I mean? Due to our giant pandemic.
Yep.
But in 2018, they had exchanged owners, and Joe Malcoon or whatever gave our Hash Bash date to Lath.
Oh.
And I asked to get on the damn gig with Lath, and he wouldn't even put me on the bill. So I had the 2019 date locked down.
Yeah.
And then Lath was all butthurt that we didn't invite him to put him on the bill.
Yeah.
But I'd only been doing the gig for like 13 years in a row or 14 years in a row.
Right.
And he played it. We did it with Ray White. We did it with Papadozia. We did it with 1 year Green Sky Bluegrass did it with us.
Yeah.
Like, before they were super giant. Like, we did it 1 year with DJ. Oh, who's the dude? Some famous DJ. Damn, it'll come to me. He's like a famous jam band DJ. But we had always brought in a lot of talent for the show, and we kind of made it bells and whistles. And also, of course, we had John Sinclair there. John Sinclair there was 8 years in a row, and I played in his band since I was a little kid, and he's kind of another big contributor to the MacPod's development. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He really encouraged us to search for that weird sound that we were going for.
Yeah, it was a good sound. It is a good sound.
That's right.
Yeah, I always enjoyed seeing you guys, and we played like festivals. We shared a lot of festivals for a certain period of time. You guys were always on the bigger stage, but yeah, we were hanging around together. Oh
man, that was what it was. Everyone wants to see someone making somebody else money, and as well as I do that we just show up and do the gig.
Yep.
And sometimes it's like, if you have a little prestige at the time, it's like, hey, these guys got some prestige. Put them on at 2 p.m. on the main stage. It's not like they're doing us a solid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like 2 p.m. It's like those tent gigs that you guys had are often better than the ones that we had. We might have been on a bigger stage, but you had a more attended audience that was more connected because your fan base was sweet.
So some of them, I know, I think it was Dunegrass. You guys were on the, I think, side stage, right?
Yeah,
main stage, side stage, and we were on stage 3, which was a mile away.
Oh, we had to do the same. Yeah, we did the same. So they had us play. Because we had offered, at the time, our manager was like, "We're not going to do it for less than $1,000." And he was like, "Well, I'll give you $1,000 if you play 3 gigs." So we did the side stage. I think maybe it was just even 2 gigs, but we did the 1 side stage gig and then 1 at the same location where it was just often BFE. Yeah. But that was back when Dunegrass was cool as hell.
Yeah, it was.
When it was an empire.
It was an empire. Yep.
Yeah.
That year, I think. There's some old bluegrass guys there that were bluegrass. Keller Williams is there, and Martin Sexton is there.
Vince Herman, I think, was there, and I got a massage next to the guy from Steel Pulse.
Yeah,
that was cool as hell.
I think I saw Chuck. I think I saw Chuck Norris there too.
Really?
No, not really. Well, I'm gonna take a little trip even further back because I want to ask you about your beginnings in studying music, curiosity about music, and musical training. Because obviously, whatever journey you went along worked, and it made for a very talented and adaptable musician, and one that can wow a crowd. So, what did you do?
Well, like I said a little earlier, me and my buddy Noah Warwick, we were like, I think I was 12 or 11. He was like, hey man, if I get this guitar and you get this bass, we can start a band. And not only are they gonna like, people are gonna like, dude, it's gonna be amazing. He was like, it's just gonna be amazing, man. He was just told me straight up. We were like listening, because we've been listening to a lot of Grateful Dead and Jimi Hendrix and stuff, and we're like, fuck, man, this is amazing. It was incredible. Bob Marley every day. Like basically, my biggest influences. My dad took me to the Grateful Dead when I was 5 years old, so I kind of grew up with that around the household. But then I started exploring, and then we started listening to like Chuck Berry and Little Richard and stuff, and like we were just so excited about music. 11, 12 years old, maybe 10 and 11, somewhere in that time period. We were just thrilled to the gills about what was possible, about all the stories that were told and all the grandeur, and most importantly, the girls. We were really into girls at the time.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Now there are women, but when we were 12, we were very, we were just excited. Whereas like kind of like, so what do you do? It's like, oh, me and my friend are in a band, oh, that's very interesting. It's like, so we really enjoyed the attention we were getting from the opposite sex at the time. And then it turned out that as I was playing more and more with him, we like did gigs for our families and stuff. And in the 8th grade of middle school, we had a band called Crystal Wine, because Gary Quackenbush was really into crystals and wine. And so, and my folks used to dump me off at his pad sometimes on the weekend. So I had like, my music teacher was also my babysitter from like Friday to Sunday.
Well, that's good.
So I would just live at this dude's house, and he would just play me all this vinyl and all this stuff. And sure, he'd let me taste. And he's dead now, so I guess it doesn't matter. But he'd be like, just taste this little wine. Just have a little wine. You know what I mean? Have a little wine and taste it. And like, check out all these crystals and stuff. So I started this band called Crystal Wine. And we played some girls' birthday parties, and we played the dances at Forsyth, which was at the time Forsyth and MYA. And then I went to community high school, my freshman year in high school, and joined the jazz program. And I joined the jazz program, and I met a lot of influential musicians who are still influential in Ann Arbor to this day. And I saw the level at which they were playing at and was like, wow. But I had moved from the 8th grade to 9th grade summer. My mom had a job with the university in Switzerland. So I went there, and I was really like bummed because I like had this musical stuff going on. So I went, and I wasn't able to play. I was out there for like 3 months or like 2.5 months or something like that. And I just sat there and I read Bass Player it's so hard to find Bass Player magazine in English over there. But I found them, and I was reading the Bass Player magazines, and I just was like, oh my God. And then I saw this Dave Pomeroy article or something about, Gravity. And so I started this band called Gravity, which later became the Abolitionist Project, and a bunch of super dope cats like, Big B, Brandon Mitchell. Like it later became a hip hop group. But the initial band Gravity was like, the instrumentation, for instance, was bass. It started with bass, guitar, drums, and maybe another guitar player. Then we added a vocalist. Then we added a DJ. Then we added a conga player. And then the next thing you know, we were just traveling around in our boy S.A.'s parents' band. Yep. It was all Chicanoed out. And we were playing gigs in our freshman year in high school. We were all playing the Comstock fundraisers and stuff. And it was like pretty exciting. So to go forward with that, like, early in sophomore year, you know how band dynamics are. Everyone starts getting in everyone's hair. And it was just, we weren't grown enough to know how to use reason and communication and logic. Yeah. So everyone was like, you know what, fuck this, we're done. We're not going to be a band anymore. Screw you, Brennan. So I was like, well, screw you guys. And they all started a band without me.
That's a bummer.
Oh, it was totally a bummer. All my bandmates started a band without me. And that's when I looked at the jazz program and was like, oh, well, screw you guys. I got jazz. So I started studying upright bass heavily with Mike Grace. my sophomore year in high school. I didn't even own an upright bass. I used the school's upright basses. I borrowed them every day. And I started playing gigs. And because I was competent and capable, I started getting calls to do subs for gigs. And my sophomore year, I was basically gigging a fair amount. But I had already had experience in gigging because, I started playing in middle school. Gary Quackenbush would hire me and Scott Martin, who later became the Gravity drummer. He'd hire us to play like these Ford executive guys' keg parties, and we played some moose lodges, and and it turns out he'd be paying us $40 for a gig and making like $500 himself, and I just learned about the music business all wrong, I guess. You know what I mean?
Most people learn that way, I think.
Yeah,
it's all wrong. It's all wrong in the beginning for sure.
So by my junior year, I didn't have a band. I was playing jazz gigs all the time, but I was like, you know what? Community high school will let you rent the music room, or not rent it, but like you could like take a class. It was called what the hell was it called? I don't know. No, I'm trying to think of the name of it was, but it was like you could basically get the music room from 7 to 8 p.m. on a Thursday. At one point, I think my junior year, I had the room rented Tuesdays and Thursdays from like 7 to 8 or 7 to 9. And I was getting high school credit to just jam with my friends at this place that had like upright basses, amps, pianos, drums, guitars, sax. Like, it had everything in there. So we spent a lot of time. I started a band called the Funky Esquires, and then it was like the Latino Esquires when we did Latin music. And it was Polka Esquires when we played polka music. Yeah. And that started playing gigs, and we weren't really very, very good, but we were very excited.
Right.
So I guess that's like a part of my upbringing was, basically, I think by my senior year, I moved out of my dad's house, was playing 4 nights or 5 nights a week, teaching bass lessons, trying to graduate high school, and playing my ass off. Literally, as soon as I got out of high school, I'd go home and, make myself a little dinner and then just go to the gig. And like, I played at the Zanzibar, which is now Sava's, I think 3 or 4 nights a week. Ingrid Racine was on that gig. A bunch of people did that. Yosef was always doing that gig. A bunch of people were doing that gigs. Because it was like a community high school affiliated gig. The gig only paid $40 or $50 and I had a free meal, but I did it enough to where I was able to pay my rent. My sister was living with her boyfriend, so she gave me her room at this house, and I lived there. And so I think what made me hungry for the music was a part of like getting after it, and then a part of reality settling in and having to like accomplish goals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what made it or broke it for me. And also my ability to just say like, you know what, I'm always ready to jam. You know me, I love to jam.
Yep.
So that's kind of what my upbringing came of trial by fire, and then a lot of influences. There was a lot of older eyes in town that were watching me grow up, and as they watched me grow up, were like, "Hey, you want to play with me?" Like Martin Simmons or Vincent York was a huge part of my high school experience. And I did jazzistry with him for a long time as like the tech guy, and Vincent York played in the Ellington Orchestra. So I had like firsthand experiences of people being like, well, back when I was touring in the Ellington Orchestra, as like a little kid, I was like, what? You hung out with Sarah Vaughan? Like, what? Like crazy. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, so I just had a lot of different angles to feed me the information between. It was jazz, funk, and I grew up primarily playing the blues. So it was like a jazz, funk, blues kind of stew, which makes your playing pretty strong.
For sure.
If you're just a rocker, if you're just a rock and roller, you know what I mean? That's what you know.
Yep.
You're just a jazz cat, that's what you know. If you're just a blues cat, that's what you know. But I was kind of like dipping my toe in all those different pools all the time.
I go out traveling, go by myself. Wanna be nobody, babe. Wanna be myself when I go. Traveling by myself. I can love you, baby. There's something I say. train when I go out. Traveling by myself. I can't love you, baby. This time being myself. I'll show you yours, baby, if you show me mine. You can have my money, baby. Don't you waste my time when I go. Oh, yeah. Traveling by myself. I can't love you, baby. There's something in myself. Singing, baby, out in your square. If you like my song, Rapunzel, won't you let me down your hair when I go out? Oh, yeah. Traveling by myself. I can't love you, baby. There's something myself. I can't love you, baby. There's something myself. I can't love you, baby. There's something myself. I can't love you, mama. There's something that always by my. There's something that